Fidel Castro, the revolutionary who ruled Cuba for over 5 decades, left an indelible mark on his nation and the world. His life, his policies, and his defiance of global powers shaped Cuban politics and culture, and the seismic shift that followed his death in 2016 closed one of the most significant chapters in modern history. Castro's rise began in the 1950s when he led a guerrilla movement against the US-backed dictator Fulgencio Batista. After years of fighting in the Sierra Maestra Mountains, Castro and his forces marched into Havana in 1959. At just 32 years old, he seized power and transformed Cuba into a socialist state, aligning it closely with the Soviet Union during the Cold War. At home, Castro implemented sweeping social reforms. Education became free and accessible, lifting literacy rates to among the highest in the world. Universal health care improved public health outcomes, earning Cuba a reputation for medical achievement despite limited resources. These policies gave many Cubans a sense of equality and national pride. But these accomplishments came at a heavy price. Castro consolidated power into a one-party system, outlawed political opposition, and restricted freedom of speech and the press. His government imprisoned dissidents, censored artists and writers, and forced thousands into exile. The same revolution that promised liberation also produced repression. Supporters saw him as a symbol of resistance to U.S. imperialism. They pointed to Cuba's resilience in the face of a crippling American embargo and its ability to provide healthcare and education despite isolation. Critics, however, highlighted decades of economic stagnation, shortages of basic goods, and the silencing of political freedoms. Castro's influence extended well beyond Cuba's borders. His defiance of the United States during the Bay of Pigs invasion and the Cuban Missile Crisis made the island a flashpoint of the Cold War. Across Latin America and Africa, revolutionary movements looked to Castro as an inspiration. His Cuba exported both doctors and soldiers, building alliances and fueling conflicts. By the time of his death in 2016, Castro had long since stepped aside for his brother Raúl, but his presence still loomed large. For some Cubans, his passing brought grief for a leader they revered. For others, it was a moment of relief, the symbolic end of an era of fear and constraint. Around the world, reactions were equally divided. Tributes from allies, condemnation from critics, and reflection from those who saw in him both achievements and abuses. Castro's death marked the end of the revolutionary generation that had defined Cuban politics since 1959. His passing opened the door to cautious reforms under new leadership, raising questions about Cuba's future direction and its relationship with the international community. The legacy of Fidel Castro remains deeply contested. To some, he was a liberator who defied empire and uplifted the poor. To others, he was a dictator who stifled freedom and kept his country in poverty. What is undeniable is that he changed the trajectory of Cuba, and his influence continues to echo long after his death.